All right, it's homecoming in Athens. Hey, Ryan, do you have a homecoming date?
Oh, well, 4 years ago I did.
Georgia, Vanderbilt are getting ready for their annual competition. Matt, what do we need to see from this Georgia team that will put people at ease? Let me just say this first, as you've pointed out, the Braves will be playing at the exact time that Georgia and Vanderbilt. Both of you are nodding your heads. The Braves will be playing at the exact time. They could, in theory, be closing the series out. I think we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But what will make you feel confident going into the last stretch of the season, the last 5 games of this season? What do you need to see in the first half, I guess, to give you confidence that they're in good shape?
Just a complete half. I want to see the complete team that we saw against Oregon, against South Carolina. I want to see the passing game go to the next level. I look at this as Georgia's get right game. If there's anything they need to work on or improve on, they've got Vanderbilt coming into town to get those things straightened out before you go to Jacksonville against the Gators, then Tennessee, then Mississippi State. So Ryan's not going to like this, but I think a lot of NFL teams use the Falcons as their get right game. You play the Falcons, everything seems to work, So I think that's what Vanderbilt is going to be this weekend. I mean, it is. That's, everyone needs those games where, you have a struggling team. Vanderbilt's given up 55 to Alabama, like 52 to Ole Miss, 31 to Elon. This is a team with a very poor defense. I expect Georgia to come out and whatever issues they might be having, get it worked out against Vanderbilt going into this bye week. So start off hot. I know we've said they've had, some slow starts the last couple of weeks. Start off, get some points on the board, play aggressive early on, and stay healthy. That's really all I'm looking for in this one.
Well, I'm looking for the same thing at the beginning, but I've come on here and said that I think 3 or 4 weeks in a row now. Come out, be hot, have a couple touchdowns early on. I'm still looking for that. I'll be looking for that until they do it. I want to see explosion in the passing game. We finally saw them explode in the running game, but we haven't really seen them pop off in the air since they were in Columbia, South Carolina. Outside of that, the Oregon game, I want to see Stetson Bennett slinging around. I want to see them go downfield. I want to see a little bit more in their deep bag of tricks, and we probably won't see some of that just because it's a get right game. But they should put up 50 points on Vanderbilt. And if for the polls that matters a little bit. But this is a team they should be hanging 50 points on. Young 49 on Oregon, 48 on South Carolina. It's time to break through and get your first 50 piece of the year and remain healthy as possible before the bye week. That's not something that's totally in their control. But, sub in younger guys earlier on when you have a big lead.
All right, if you want to get right, join Ryan and I at Paloma Park 4 to 7 before the Vanderbilt game, the Friday before the Vanderbilt game. The Braves will be playing at that point too. So we're going to be there. A lot of people joined us this past week, and I don't know if it's going to be as crowded as it was. My expectation is going to be more crowded. So get there so you can watch the Braves and listen to us talk about the Dogs. My expectation here, or my demarcation line, is 650 yards. So that's a lot. I'm going to just say that is a lot of yards, okay? But that's about 100-ish more yards than Georgia typically has. And having watched Vanderbilt enough, they are not great defensively. So I think that that's the part to me, Matt, that you want to really exploit. The 50 points, I think they will cover personally. I don't know if they're going to score 50 points or not. 50 points is hard to do.
Yeah, I think if they got out to a 35-0 lead in the third quarter, then we do start seeing a lot of subs. It wouldn't surprise me if they went scoreless in the fourth with the game already being over, and just kind of stick around that 42 to 45 mark. But again, just like Ryan said, I want to see some explosiveness in the passing game that does not involve Brock Bowers. I want to see some wide receivers, get some run after the catch. I want to see them clicking because they haven't exactly been clicking all the way through 4 quarters in the last, like Ryan said, 2 to 3 games, maybe even more than that. So we know what they can do because we've seen them dominate. Just like 3 weeks ago, we were talking about Georgia being number 1 with a giant gap, then Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson and everyone. So we know this team could be very, very good because we've seen it. And when you have a team like Vanderbilt coming in, you really just want to stay sharp, stay crisp, and stay healthy going into a much-needed bye week. And then, of course, that's when the real season starts with Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Kentucky.
Hey, real quick, Matt, and then Ryan. Did Georgia dominate Auburn, Matt?
They did in the second half, not in the first half. I mean, the halftime score was 14-0. Listen, Auburn stinks. Auburn stinks. And they kind of messed around with them, especially in that first quarter. They didn't score in their first 3 possessions. Auburn stinks. They should have done a better job in that first half. But then, we saw classic Georgia just maul them and run through them and punch them in the face over and over again in that second half, especially in the fourth quarter. So they dominated for a decent part of the game, I'd say.
Ryan?
They steamrolled them. It wasn't, they just didn't have the fast start that we thought they would have. And when you're running the ball like that, it doesn't feel like you're steamrolling someone the way if you're tossing it downfield for huge touchdown after huge touchdown. I thought they kind of obliterated Auburn, and it was one of, Auburn's, we're talking about 49-3. If Auburn doesn't have a broken play, and it's been broken plays, I think, are half the touchdowns scored on Georgia this year. They're, it's just poor execution by the Georgia defense, and in this case, it was poor tackling, and I think a missed assignment or something.
Was that the play Kirby called inexcusable?
Yeah, he was very upset about that touchdown. I think he blamed 3 or 4 different guys on that touchdown. But he went on his little mini rant after the game about that one. But it was a play that you don't let happen because you just shouldn't have scored on it. I think sharp is what a good word Matt used was. Does Georgia look sharp on Saturday? Because there were moments where they didn't look sharp against Auburn, even though they won 42-10. There were a lot of moments where they didn't look sharp against Kent State when they won 37-22 or 39-22. And there were moments against Samford, and there were definitely moments against Missouri where they didn't look sharp. Oregon and South Carolina are a different story. They won start to finish and dominated. If Georgia sharpens up and sticks to those details for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks of college football, every single team in the country should fear them. And I think there's a little glimmer of hope right now just because Georgia has shown more vulnerability than they did last year.
Yeah, so just looking at the kind of the drive charts, which I'm really pay attention to quite a bit, Georgia had a fair amount of yardage. Georgia had a fair amount of yardage in the first quarter. One of these drives was split. They just didn't really push Auburn's head into the ground the way maybe you'd think. But I would say from the second quarter on, they really, to me, kind of dominate them because I think what we're discussing quite a bit of is offensive domination. I mean, Auburn only had 2 drives. No, excuse me, they had 3 drives. They only had 3 drives where they had 30 yards or more in a drive, and one of those was the broken touchdown play with 11-10. What was it? 10 minutes left to go in the game. So I agree with the panel in that, if we're calling it a panel now, I agree with the group if the discussion is, hey, they're not as crisp as they were against South Carolina or Oregon. I don't know that they're going to be as crisp as they were like those two the rest of the year. They really played hot against Oregon. That was, I guess, the best. I'm not sure if it was the best game they played. South Carolina was pretty bad too. But and Auburn was pretty good, but it wasn't like that. So I don't know if they're going to play like that again. That's a good question. Let me make sure that I mention it is homecoming. Make sure you're going to get there. There's going to be a lot of shopping. Visit our friends at Red Zone. They've got a ton of stuff for you to get ready now. There's not a lot of home games left. Take advantage of this. They're on Clayton, 1 block up away from campus from the Arch. Take a left on Clayton Street on College Avenue. Take a left on Clayton, and you'll see the flags, and they'll be there. And it's quite a show on game days. I'll tell you that right now. Ryan, this week, it looked to me like Stetson was a little bit banged up. And he told me after the game, if I'm not mistaken, that he was fine. And then Kirby said that he's he was slightly banged up. How much do you think, if he is or was, how much do you think that is affecting Georgia's performance?
I think it affected maybe his accuracy in the passing game on Saturday. Stetson said he was fine. Kirby talked about how it was just a little soreness from the Missouri game. He got beat up in the Missouri game.
He did.
QB pressures, there were a ton of QB hits, and that affects a quarterback, especially when you're a small dude like Stetson. We're talking about a guy that's a below average in size for the quarterback position. But I think that's definitely affected it, but I don't think it affected it significantly because that was the thirdish week in a row where I was like, well, he's not as accurate as he was in the first 3 weeks. So that's up to Stetson. I don't, nothing has come out to where he has some shoulder injury that I know of. And I think he's fine. We didn't see any practice this week, so I didn't get to see him throw or anything. But it's up to Stetson to be more accurate because I'm not talking about his completion percentage. I don't care about that number that much. I'm talking about when he's throwing the ball, is it just before or behind somebody? Is it too high? There's a lot more of those in the last 3 weeks than there were in the first 3 weeks.
I'm going to go to Matt right now, but I do think that the explanation this past week was that he certainly was not completely right, and he got not right at Missouri. I mean, they beat him pretty hard. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think if you're sore or have anything that makes you not 100%, you're going to be off mechanically. I mean, because you're not 100%. Something's, kind of bothering you. And we saw him miss high. So I don't know how related that was. You would think if his shoulder, was dinged up or if he's sore, he'd be maybe underthrowing balls. But a lot of his balls were high. I want to see him stick in the pocket, scan the field, and make some throws, 15, 20 yards down the field and start hitting those deep balls a little consistently. But eventually he's going to come, play against a defense that is not going to let him escape and make plays outside of the pocket and find guys there. I want to see him stand in the pocket firm when he doesn't have to run and make plays with his arm down the field.
Who's that defense going to be?
I don't know. Tennessee's defense looks okay. I think Florida has a little talent on their defense. Mississippi State's defense has played good at times, other times not so much. So he may not face any elite defense until the playoff or the SEC championship game. So,
yeah, I'm curious. Well, we've not talked a lot. We talked about it earlier this week a little bit, but if they get that run game going, that's the thing I would like to see. I'm the more curious about myself is if they start running the ball 200 yards, everything's going to click. I mean, and there were a lot of wide open guys that Stetson missed. There were two specifically, Bowers and Ladd McConkey. That might have been as much on Ladd as it was on Stetson on the field. I can only see so much. Real quick, Matt, are guys as open as they have been in the past when you're up there in the press box? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think they've been as open. I think Missouri played them tough. They were tough at the line of scrimmage. And I thought even when Georgia, started catching the ball and things were clicking in the passing game, they had guys right on their backs. Occasionally there will be a guy that breaks open deep down the field. But for the most part, I think
was that just Missouri?
Well, even I thought Auburn played them well in the first half against the pass. There was a throw to Brock Bowers where he was covered pretty tight. Underneath throw to Ladd McConkey. They tackled him pretty quick. He wasn't able to get that first down. Darnell Washington has been the guy who's caught the ball and got yards after the catch more than anyone else outside of Brock Bowers that I can think of. So I want them to get they're going to have to do a little job of creating separation on their own to where they can catch the ball and take off with it. I want to see more yards after the catch from a lot of these guys. And it just doesn't seem like they're running as wide open as maybe they were last year.
Well, I wonder how much A.D. Mitchell being out matters. It might matter some. It might not matter at all. I don't know.
I think it matters a lot. I think he's your one. He's your X. And it was clear from the jump back in March that he was going to be that guy for them. And it was in the Oregon game a mixture of Ladd and AD, but you could tell he's their one. Stetson has the most chemistry with AD Mitchell. From the outside looking in, that's his best friendship out of the wide receiver room. I don't know the details of their friendships, but AD Mitchell being out, I think matters more than what we're giving it credit for. But I wanted to mention one thing about the run game. Is it the quote unquote other guys, the other two guys that are going to be more effective in the run game? Because that's what we saw last week, and that was their best game running by far.
We don't know. That's why I want to see this week. I mean, they're not probably going to get 650 yards if they're running for 250 or well, they had 300 against Auburn, right? It just becomes a time problem, I would
Yeah,
say, more than
clock's gonna
anything.
roll.
Yeah, the clock's going to run too fast. I did want to ask real quick, homecoming, any really bad homecoming memories, Matt or Ryan?
I've got some bad prom memories, but I kind of stayed away from homecoming.
Homecoming. All
Yeah, it
right,
just
all
wasn't
right,
my
Ryan,
thing.
Ryan, go
I
ahead.
always had more fun at homecoming than I did at prom, actually. I
Less
I
pressure
looked forward to home. I don't know. I guess at my weird school, homecoming was just a bigger deal.
than prom.
Yeah, because you had the Monday through Friday that week. You had the themes, and
And
you dress up.
everybody could go to homecoming, whereas only seniors and juniors could go to prom.
Yeah, you'd have to be invited by a senior or junior to go to
Right.
prom. Everyone could go to homecoming. It was more chillaxed. You didn't have to wear a tux. We wouldn't even wear jackets most of the time. So it would just be like button downs and ties and stuff like that and bow ties. But it was more fun throughout the week because you have football going on. That matters. There's no football in the spring. So you have that game to look forward to. It's usually a pretty good matchup. And then all week we'd have Spirit Week, and Monday would have a theme, Tuesday would have a theme, whatever it was. Sometimes it was lame, sometimes it was just Hawaiian, but sometimes it was cool, and there was just a lot more going on. So I enjoyed homecoming more.
Yeah, I don't remember all of my homecoming dates. I think, and at Tucker, we went to you went to high school from your eighth grade year on. So I went to homecoming 5 times, um, and I don't remember everybody at all. But anyway, do you think your Braves are going to? I think I told Matt earlier. I think the Braves are going to win this thing in five. They're going to make it torturous
Five.
in five.
I only got to watch a bit yesterday,
They're
but
clear. They're the better team. I mean,
yeah,
they're
no,
the better
I
team.
thought they just played poorly. I think there was bad pitching the first couple innings on I guess Tuesday. And so, they're the better team. They had momentum coming into this playoffs, and I foresee the same result as last year.
Matt.
They're going to win the World Series
Yeah.
again. I'm all in. They're going to take care of business. Hopefully, they get the Padres. It'd be nice to beat Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers and the NLCS, but yeah, I've said all year the championship runs through Smyrna, and they're going to have to get past the Braves. But we're going to bring it home back to back. It's going to be glorious. I'd like to beat the Yankees in the World Series instead of the Astros. Might be a little too nitpicky there, but yeah, I'm all in. They're going to win the whole thing again.
You're really getting like specific
Let's
here on
go.
this whole thing.
Let's go.
Exactly how
Yeah,
many.
I've been dreaming about it. I've been thinking about it all week. This is how I want them to go back to back. So
And
can't wait.
it always works out the way you dream it. Okay,
Of course.
very quickly on picks. I've got Georgia covering Vanderbilt. You two, where are y'all at?
38-ish? Yeah.
It's 38-ish. Okay, Penn State and Michigan. Michigan's a 7-point favorite at home.
Take the Wolverines.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to do Alabama, Tennessee. The Tide go to Tennessee for a game where they are a 7-point favorite on the road.
I don't think they're going to cover. I think Alabama wins a close one in Knoxville, though.
Another close
I've been
win.
thinking about it all week. I'm going Tennessee upset. I am.
Oh.
I think we see some real competency up there.
They're definitely competent.
Off the injury, I think it's time for something spicy to happen. So I'm going with the upset. I don't pick a lot of upsets.
All right, Texas Christian is hosting Oklahoma State. The Horned Frogs are a 4-point favorite.
I like the Frogs. That's a good team.
I like okay. Okay.
Okay, State. Okay. Another. This is bizarre that this game is on the ACC network, but okay. NC State is a 3.5-point dog at Syracuse.
Wolfpack.
What time of the day is this at?
3:30.
Syracuse.
Okay. Couple more here. We've got Clemson is only a 3.5-point favorite at Florida State. Anybody brave enough to pick the Noles? I didn't
No,
think
but I
so.
think something wacky happens. This feels like a weird game where we look
Okay.
back and was like, well,
Old school Bowden Bowl. Yeah.
Those were not good games. Mississippi State goes to Kentucky. The Cats are a 4-point underdog at home in the
Bulldogs.
Commonwealth. You got Commonwealth. Okay.
Mississippi State can play.
They
I mean,
are.
I
They're
think
good.
they're a good team.
Ryan?
what was it again? I didn't hear you.
So Mississippi State is a 4-point favorite at Commonwealth Stadium to play the Cats.
I no, I think I told you the other day I like Mississippi State in this game. They're
Okay.
just better. They're just the better team. I don't, how much does Kentucky's home field advantage matter?
Not. I mean, it's like Missouri. Same
Yeah. So
basic
I
thing.
I like the other Bulldogs.
All right, last pick here. The Utah Utes are going to host the USC Trojans. Utah is a 3.5-point favorite over SC. Matt?
Here's my upset. I'll go with the Trojans. Trojans.
Okay.
I like Utah at home. First-year head coaches are not typically going undefeated in the regular season. I think this is a reasonable loss for a reasonable first loss under Lincoln Riley.
I don't disagree with that necessarily. Okay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you over on the website.